Welcome back to the Dry Fire Journal. This is day 142. And today I want to talk about how we deal with our mistakes. In the last video, which I recommend that you watch, it's called the journal process. I talked about the necessity for us to take the time necessary in order to capture every single task that we do in Dry Fire and to take a minute and process what it is that we did well, what we experienced, and how we can build on it. But what do we do with mistakes? Let's say that I'm working with my handgun in Dry Fire and it takes me forever to find my dot. And so I remember that's a mistake. By the way, I don't need to write that down. My brain is going to do a great job of remembering that I made a mistake. But when I am considering my mistakes, that's how I choose what I want to work on next. If I could not find the dot very well on the draw, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in my journal to the last day or two and find a draw that went really well. And if I made a note that what I did well was I drew the firearm well into my vision, because I took the time to write it down and took some process notes, that draw is going to come back into my brain. I'm going to visually remember what it felt like to draw and present the firearm exactly where I wanted it to be. And I'm going to tell myself, I have this in me. And so what I'm doing is I'm taking a mistake and I'm attaching it to a positive. And there are so many mistakes that we can make. And as we remember those, all we have to do is go back into our process journal, and that's the beauty of having it. And now we can attach it to a moment recently, like the previous day or the day before or sometime this week when I got something right that correlates to what I got wrong. And so it helps me not have this story that I suck and I'm always going to suck. And that's a big deal for shooters. And the reason why is that we tend to compare ourselves to other shooters whose process we have nothing to do with. I have nothing to do with Tim Herron's process and this super cool video that he's put out where he's essentially doing a bill drill 2 seconds or less to the narrow A box in the head zone. I can compare myself to Tim Herron and say, dude, I suck. Or I can say, wow, Tim Herron has put in a lot of work to be able to do that, and I can choose whether or not I want to do that same work as well. And now I'm getting out of the negative self-talk, and I go back in my journal, and instead of thinking I suck, I couldn't find my sight, I look and I find some moments when I did. I recapture those in my mind, and now I'm going to spend my whole Dry Fire session for the day, the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 60, however many minutes you're going to give to it that day, I'm going to give myself to reminding myself of doing what I already know how to do. Now that is a path to performance. Get to work, and I'll see you tomorrow.